Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Pete Sines, Mayor of the City of Laredo, but also the co-chair of the Laredo and Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, otherwise known as the MPO Policy Committee. And I'm calling this meeting to order. Today's April the 19th, 2021, and it's 1:30 p.m. The meeting is virtually held. You can join at laredotx.swagit.com/forward-live. And you can join us also, and it can be viewed through a public access channel, and that's Spectrum TV channel 1300. We need roll call, please. Anyone from staff, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Ms. Briones.
Yes, good afternoon. Honorable Tando Tijerina.
Present.
Honorable Jesse Gonzalez.
Present.
Honorable John Galo.
Present.
Honorable Pete Sines.
Present.
Honorable Ruben Gutierrez.
Present.
Honorable Dr. Marta Martinez. Honorable Vanessa Perez.
Present.
Mr. David Salazar.
Present, Ms. Briones.
Mr. Humberto Tito Gonzalez.
Present.
For the record, we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Briones. Having a quorum, I welcome everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. The next item is item 3, and that's citizens' comments. Do we have anyone that forecasted to appear? And if not, I guess once they do make that contact, we can bring them on.
Yes, sir, Mayor. If we can pause just for 30 seconds to a minute, there is a lag between what you see here and what's presented live. We do have a comment that I'll ask Ms. Briones to read from the RMA. But if I can also make an announcement, if everybody could please mute their mics, it really helps with the audio feedback. And if I mute you, I'm not trying to be rude, just want to make sure we have the best audio for the public and also for our recording. Sometimes you can't hear it on your end, but it does create a feedback. Ms. Briones, if you would. Yes, sir.
Just FYI, I have 2 mute buttons, so what you're going to see is unmuted, but I have a mute button over here, so you won't be able to hear me.
Got it. Thank you. Ms. Briones, could you please read the comment into the public record? Ms. Briones, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I have here a comment from Mr. Jed Brown from the RMA. And it says, the RMA was certainly excited to learn the results of the survey with the Vallecillo Road project coming out as ranked first in the list of 16 unfunded projects. Trade and transportation are the lifeblood of our community. As we have presented multiple times, Vallecillo improves safety and mobility. It increases economic development and the regional tax base, and it provides job growth. The results of the unfunded survey item were discussed in the Lomas del Sur WebEx meeting held on April the 8th with members of the city, the county, and the RMA attending. In that meeting, it was discussed that the Lomas del Sur overpass was ranked as one of the top 3 unfunded projects according to the survey's responses. It is important to note the ranking of the Lomas del Sur overpass of being first, second, or third is not required for the city or the county to proceed with the Lomas del Sur overpass project. In this April 8th meeting, there was discussion of possibly redoing the survey. We caution against retaking the survey as we believe it would give the appearance that our community and those asked to take the survey would look disorganized or unprepared. We also believe our community may lose credibility if we take survey on top of survey for the same projects or data. The RMA supports taking an annual survey for unfunded projects. We also strongly support the Lomas del Sur overpass project as it is needed for South Laredo and all motorists using the stretch of roadway now and in the years to come. The RMA welcomes the opportunity to work with the city, the county, or whomever pursues this much needed overpass project.
Mr. Mayor, you're muted. And we do not have any other comments waiting.
Okay, thank you for that comment, Ms. Briones, and thank you for that too, Mr. Snyderman. Yeah, if anyone wishing to make a comment, please do so, and we'll bring you in as soon as you make contact with us by calling at the number 794-1623. Moving on to item 4A. That's Roman numeral 4A, approval of minutes for the virtual meeting held on March 15, 2021. What says the committee? Is there a motion that we approve the minutes?
So moved, Mayor. This is Marta Martinez for the record.
Yes, and thank you for standing out. I can't see you all, so please do sound out. Okay, so there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Perez. Discussion? None heard. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Sound out or by hand signal. And I take that as a unanimous approval. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gonzalez had asked that we, and he said might be having a little bit of trouble with his mic, but he asked that we move up the discussion of the ranking of unfunded projects, the presentation.
Okay, what item is that? Let's see.
It's in the reports and presentations. There is no action required, but
Oh,
in case
okay.
he had to leave, he wanted to.
Okay, there's a motion to move up that item. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mayor. Marta Martinez.
Okay, seconded by Dr. Marta Martinez. Discussion? None heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sound out or hand signal? No? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That item is now on the table for discussion.
Yes, sir. This is Kirby Sneidman, your MPO director. I have a brief presentation, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, as you recall, we had a joint city, county, RMA, and MPO meeting a couple months back, and one of the results of that meeting was that we asked all of our elected officials to participate in a survey so that we could understand that if funding became available, what of the unfunded projects, those projects that we're anticipating in the near term, but they're not in our TIP, they're not programmed yet, which of those projects should we prioritize? And so I wanted to share with you the results. I'll go over what the MTP unfunded project list is and where you can find that. And I'll talk about TxDOT's UTP unfunded project list. And I'll show you a few maps if you'd like to see them, and then a summary of the rankings as they came out in the survey. So we do have a ranking of unfunded, or we do have a list of unfunded projects in our MTP, which is our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. That can be found on the MPO's website. And on that plan, it's a list of many projects. And you might think, okay, well, where do those projects come from? They come from multiple sources. They come from TxDOT's UTP, which is a listing of 10-year projects that they need to, the 4 years are the projects that are programmed and have funding, but there's a lot of work that goes into when a project's ready to let. And so they have to do things like design it and start coordinating and planning it. So they have a list, a 10-year list. We have existing regional plans and projects from the city and the county, things that we're working on. We have a congestion management plan and process, and that informs which areas of the city are congested. We might need to make expansions, where we need to add additional roads. And that's tied in very closely to a travel demand model that we've created as an MPO. We've had consultants do it, and we're actually in the process of taking that in-house, managing that more closely and being able to provide you a lot more data and do a lot more models, a lot more simulations. And then finally, we do an agency and public call for projects where basically we ask everybody in the city, everybody in the county, we say, is there a transportation project that you think is important? And we assess that and add it to the list. All those things come together to produce a list of the MTP that is about 80, 90 projects long. And those are estimated. We estimate the costs on those projects. We also estimate the timeline of when we might need them. So from that list, TxDOT wanted to ask the question, and we thought it was a good question. Okay, we've got the MTP's long list of projects. We have a 10-year list of projects that TxDOT knows is coming up the next 10 years, and they've got to start working on it, designing, coordinating it. But of those that are outside the 10 years, if we do get some additional funding, which one of those may we want to move into the TIP, to immediately start funding, to include in what's funded? And those included, the project areas included IH-35, 59, the Loop 20, Hine, US 83, Vicia Road, and the Outer Loop. And we presented that list at the joint meeting, and then we asked everybody to take the survey and give us their feedback. And the results of that are here. Of the 16 projects that we asked everybody to rank, Vicia Road came in first, IH-35, the expansion project, came in second, and then third and fourth were the two flyovers on Loop 20 in South Laredo. And the fifth was the Outer Loop project to begin some of that project as well. That's not the cost of the entire project, but there's a component of that. And I do need to note that there were, of the 50+ participants of elected officials and staff that were included in that survey, we did only receive 13 participants. Now, I only point that out because the ultimate decision of whether any of these unfunded projects goes into the TIP, it doesn't depend on the survey, it depends on the votes of the policy committee. That you are the deciding body, and the survey was just meant to inform you. So if you're satisfied with that, then that is perfectly fine, then that's informative enough. And what we talked about at the technical committee was not of redoing this survey, but of giving everybody who didn't have the opportunity to fill it out. Maybe if you wanted to see more participation, then we could issue that out again. If you're satisfied with this, then that's fine. I would say of these top 5 projects, from all the discussions I've had with elected officials, this correlates with those discussions that I've heard. Certainly that Vicia and the flyovers and the expansion on 35 and the flyovers on Loop 20 in South Laredo are priority projects that are expected to come in the next 10 years, but aren't in the 4-year, aren't programmed and funded. And then these are a copy of the list, or a copy of the map that we shared in the surveys that pointed out the projects and gave people a geographic idea of where those 16 projects were.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Steinman. Unless you have something else?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay.
Just wanted to update you on the survey results.
Yeah, strictly a discussion item. Any discussion, any other additional comments by the members? If not, we'll back to the agenda, which is item 4B, a discussion of the possible action related to the need for internal infrastructure at Unitech Industrial Park to accommodate the additional traffic that will be generated by the expansion related to the newly approved city tours. Mr. Humberto Tito Gonzalez from TxDOT, you're sponsoring this item. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor. This is David Salazar with Texas Department of Transportation. So in discussions with Mr. Steinman and city staff, we're well aware of the amount of work that's coming into the Unirola area up north of us with the amount of the folks that are coming in to expand on their property. So we wanted to briefly discuss what we have planned out in that area, so possibly we can think of alternate routes. I know that the city of Laredo has them on their master plan, but Mr. Gonzalez is going to cover 2 of the projects that we do have funded that we're moving forward with at the Unirola intersection. which is at the actual intersection itself, and then just north at the Ruth Jarchad. A total of $110 million between both projects that we have funded and are working on currently. This discussion will be future tie-ins to the north intersection by others, and possibly upgrading the master plan that the city of Laredo does have. With that being said, Mr. Gonzalez has put together a little quick presentation so you can get an overview of the two projects that we have planned for this area. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Yes, Mr. Snyder, you can pull that up, please, the presentation I sent earlier. Thank you. As Mr. Salazar mentioned, yeah, the whole, reason behind this item, I just want to kind of remind everybody on this MPO staff and everyone listening.
Can you zoom in a tiny bit more, if you don't mind? Great, thank you.
TxDOT is holding weekly meetings with the City of Laredo Planning Department and the directors of other departments to make sure we're planning together. I think we all understand the importance of continuing to plan together so that we continue to grow infrastructure-wise in the right direction. So this topic did come up at one of our past meetings about development in this area. So again, as Mr. Salazar mentioned, just wanted to bring to light these two projects so that everyone is aware of what's coming down the road, so that we can plan accordingly with the future improvements that are coming in to the east of this area. So this first project is the improvements at the Uniroyal interchange. It is at 5 and mile marker 13. The length will go about half a mile south of the interchange to 2 miles north. We have an estimated $65 million, and as Mr. Salazar mentioned, that is money that is already, like I said, secured, so that this project is fully funded. And the proposed let date is September 2024. As you see, just a quick description of what you see, we will be removing and replacing the current overpass at the Uniroyal intersection. We will be widening that, as you see there, to 4 lanes in each direction. We will also be reconstructing a total reconstruction of the at-grade crossing at Uniroyal, which will go under I-35. And as you see there on the screen, we will have 4 lanes going underneath in each direction. So that will be an 8-lane section underneath I-35, fully concrete as well in that area to keep up with the demand of those heavy truck traffic that's there. We will also be making upgrades, improvements to the railroad crossing there on the east. We're already in coordination with UP and showing them our preliminary layout that you're seeing in front of you here to work on the coordination and the clearances that we'll need to get from the railroad as well. We can move to the next slide, Mr. Snyman, please. So as Mr. Salazar mentioned, just further to the north, we are looking at building a new proposed interchange that will tie in the much anticipated Achar-Ruthinger project that we've been talking about for quite some time. This will be an elevated interchange that we will be constructing. Again, the limits are the same limits as the project that I just mentioned before. So the plan is for these two projects to let together as one. This segment of the project is $45 million, and we do have that $45 million secured, so it is fully funded, and it is also planned for September 2024. I think I can mention this, and then I think we can open it up for comments, Mayor. I think we all know the traffic that we have at Uniroyal. The improvements that we have planned will no doubtly improve the current situation. But as we continue to grow, as we continue to plan as an MPO, we felt TxDOT, based on all the numbers and the analysis and all of the schematics and studies that we did, that it was best to include this northern new interchange at Achar-Ruthinger to allow for future tie-ins from the east. And I think that's what we're here to talk about, so we can continue to plan and discuss with everyone on here how we can make that a reality. So with that said, Mr. Salazar, if you have any comments, and now we can open it up for any questions or comments.
Any thoughts or comments by anyone? to begin with, this is excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Mayor, I have a comment, please.
Sure, go ahead, please, Commissioner Gill.
Yes, first of all, congratulations, TxDOT. Thank you so much for including this. You know, it's really going to be a boom to that area and drastically, desperately needed. But my question is, you see it every day with the Port of Laredo, with Uniroyal being closed, when the arms come down and the traffic rerouted because of the train. So on this Ruthinger, I don't know what the elevations look like, but will we be able to fly over the tracks there? Or can we build it to make sure that we do go over the tracks in the next time? Because otherwise we're gonna run into the same problem there at Uniroyal where everybody stopped because the train's coming through.
That's an excellent question, Mr. Galo. So the Ruthinger charter will be tying in on the west side, which will be an elevated tie-in. It's going to be a flyover overpass, as we have it depicted in this picture here. So east of the 35 intersection is where the Union Pacific Railroad is at. And that's what we're asking, that we work in conjunction with the city folks and the people that are Majestic, I guess, that are coming in. Eventually, there will have to be a route east of 35, and that's why we're bringing to the table so we can start how we're going to accomplish this as an MPO and start looking at alternate ways of planning for the future. As of now, the interchange would only go over 35 where you can go north or southbound. But eventually, it's our hopes that there will be a tie-in east of 35 over Union Pacific Railroad. But we will leave it in place for that to occur. That's the way we're designing it right now.
So it is designed elevated enough so you can clear the tracks if need be, go over.
That is correct, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I guess I could have simply said yes, sir, but my apologies for it. I felt a little long-winded today.
The anticipated commencement of construction would be when?
This is scheduled to go to letting, Mayor, September of 24.
September of 24, okay. And it'll probably take about 2 years, 18 months or so? Well,
this interchange in itself, just looking at it, roughly from my experience, 18 months, get a good contract in there, they'd probably be out of there in 12 months or so.
okay.
Again, rough estimate.
Okay, and hopefully by then we can start planning, or at least I have some idea as to what's going to happen to the east section, so we can start planning construction there too. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, Doctor.
Thank you. So one of the things that helps us with all this, of course, continues to be parallels to this area, because we're going to see continued growth here, right? And parallels are vitally important. And so I hear what TxDOT is saying along the east side, going north-south from that development all the way to this interchange. We have to make sure we have a north-south connector, if you will. And along that connector, I think we have access to maybe one more flyover possibility. They're a little further south. Is that correct, Mr. Salazar? We have another place where we can connect to I-35?
That is correct.
And so would you kind of show where that is? Is there a way we can show that?
I'm not sure if Tito was prepared to discuss that, but it is our plan, beginning on this intersection, headed north and south, to have a overpass every 1.5 miles. That's what our master plan is, our long-term planning. I'm not sure that we have something to that effect right now, Tito, other than Google Maps.
Can we show that? Because I think it's important for this MPO policy committee to understand the viability of having or investing in a true north-south parallel to I-35 that will then have multiple connections to I-35. And so what we'll be able to do is really avoid some of this major congestion that we're having. And over the next 10 years, 15 years, as this area continues to boom, which we anticipate it will, and with the arrival of the Hachar-Ruthinger Parkway, we'll be able to, work parallel on both the left and on the right, so on the west and on the east side. But I'd like to show the policy committee what you guys were thinking, if it's possible, because that is something that they need to keep in the back of their minds as we're planning our monies going forward.
There we go.
Yeah, as Mr. Salazar mentioned, Dr. Martinez, we don't have that readily available to show at the moment, but what I would recommend is I think that this project merits enough importance that maybe we can set up a plan meeting just specifically to talk. The intent of me bringing this item up today was to get the wheels moving, like it sounds like already like it's happening. I think that having a planning meeting just specifically to talk about what how are we going to plan for the future in this area? Because we do have plans or some feasibility studies that we've run, some alternates that we've looked at. We are still assessing some of those alternatives, but we would really love to get the input of the MPO and other stakeholders in the area so that we can come up with a viable solution for everyone in this area.
Well, then I'm going to make that a motion, Mayor. My motion is going to be to explore the feasibility of a north-south parallel to I-35, as well as to start a study to this area, and even if it's just within the MPO to find or to look for the viability of this roadway.
One of the interesting things, if I may, Mayor and Councilman Martinez, is one of the obstacles along this corridor, the development, of course, has to be the Union Pacific Railroads.
Mm-hmm.
At numerous discussions with them about rerouting the road around this area. I think that's an option that we do need to explore a little bit further. When I say we, perhaps the city, TxDOT, and the county, because again, it is a vital obstacle in trying to get folks out of that neighborhood area. If we could it would certainly eliminate the amount of design that we're spending on trying to bypass a road and go over it. But again, something that we need to consider is bringing in the folks from Union Pacific.
So if I understand you correctly, Mr. Salazar, you're saying to reroute the rail?
Mayor,
I think in our...
Guys, a point of order, if you don't mind. There is a motion on the floor.
Yeah, there's a motion.
There needs to be a second just for discussion, because right now the point of order is actually incorrect, so.
No, you're right, Judge. Thank you for that.
I'll second it for discussion.
Yeah, seconded, yeah, for discussion. So now in discussion. So you're saying, Mr. Salazar, that for this to work more feasibly, I guess, and to avoid additional expenses, that maybe we need to reroute the rail line. Is that it?
I think, Mayor, it should be part of the feasibility study. When if we do get to that point that we look at rerouting the Union Pacific, it does create certain obstacles for us when it comes to traffic because it's so close to 35. I think it would be something that would have to be looked at in that feasibility study as well.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor?
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, sir, please, Commissioner.
So, I didn't understand. So on the motion, was the motion to make a parallel road on the east side of the railroad tracks? Or we're talking about trying to reroute the railroad tracks?
Commissioner, the motion was to explore the possibilities, what would be the most, I guess, advantageous possibility. So to commence a study into this area.
Okay, but whether it's rerouting or doing a parallel, basically a feeder road on the east side of the railroad tracks?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I think all of the above, and I also heard that from Mr. Salazar that the future intended plan is to have these flyovers every 3 miles, 3.5 until you get to Columbia. Is that it? Columbia Road?
1.5 miles.
1.5 miles or 3.5 miles?
It's 1.5 miles, Mayor.
Okay, I added some more. Okay, so 1.5 miles. I mean, that's going to include a lot of flyovers, but then again, I mean, we need a plan for all of this. Okay, so that's also part of this study that the Dr. Marta Martinez is asking for. Is that it?
We can certainly forward our information at any time.
Okay, yeah, this is long-term, obviously. I mean, yeah,
That is correct. That is correct. Long-term planning.
Right, okay. Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. None heard. None seen. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on then to, is this all you needed on this item? I guess so. So C, a discussion with possible action on a motion to approve the second version of the Laredo Transit Management Act, that's LTMI, Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, and safety performance targets for calendar year 2021 and to incorporate into the metropolitan and statewide planning process with the Laredo Metropolitan Organization. Mr. Steinman, or whoever's going to present on this?
Sir, the El Metro completed their Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan update, and as part of that, they just needed to update that we needed to approve the second version of the LTMI.
Motion to approve, Mayor?
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez?
Councilman Gutierrez.
Oh, Councilman Gutierrez, okay, thank you. Discussion? None heard? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. None seen, none heard. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We go now to discussion with possible action on the Chad Ruthinger. Do we have any updates?
Good afternoon, Mayor. This is Guillermo Coya for Webb County. Just to give an update, our consultant is going to submit schematics and all documents on Thursday. Once we review them, we'll forward them to TxDOT for their further handling. Also, the consultant has been paid all their services up to now. And in addition to the amendment to the advanced funding agreement, in which TxDOT takes over the rest of the environmental work, it will go through Commissioner's Court for approval on April 26th. Those are the only updates I have.
Okay, thank you. And I know TxDOT's been working with the city, and I think the city in our strategic planning session that we had, some of this, no, I think it was our last council meeting that we had. I think this was also discussed as to the financing, and I know the city was going to undertake, was it 9.1 million or somewhere in there to, as part of the planning, well, not planning, the financing plan that we have for it, but there's a good chance that we may not need that if, because we're borrowing this through some sort of a loan from the state of Texas, and it may be just a wash at the end, but also with the understanding that we may have to absorb some right-of-ways that TxDOT currently holds, and that's the San Bernardo and part of the Clark and part of the Jaime, what is it, part of that Loop 20 portion, which I believe, and this is something maybe that we can have this discussion later, but I think, Judge, my understanding was that the city was going to absorb Clark and San Bernardo, and I think the county would absorb in a sharing situation that part of the Loop 20 there from 359 to Zapata Highway. What's it called? The Jaime Zapata. The Jaime Zapata. And that's more or less the way we've kind of seen it here in the city. If there's any difference there, let us know, Judge. But I know it's in the works, but I guess we need some part. Has TxDOT visited with you on that, Judge, or the county for that matter?
No, sir, I have not been visited with that. So I'm kind of, I'm not sure what you're talking about on that point.
Okay, maybe TxDOT should visit with you. I know you and I have had very general discussions, on and off, and I know I've mentioned it to you on and off, but it's getting to the point that we need to start making some decisions there. So, I would encourage you to visit with TxDOT, David. If you'll have some time to visit on that with the judge, I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely, Mayor. As you're aware, trying to keep this project on schedule and moving forward. Thank you to Luis Perez Garcia and his staff, Member Coya of the county, and the city folks in getting this moving forward. We're anticipating receiving all the electronic files from the county as at the end of this week, so we can move forward with the design and the environmental aspect of this project, so we can stay on track. Certainly, the quickest route to get this project moving wants to go this way. Once we do go into construction and get the funding moving forward and whatnot until the letting date comes up, we should start having discussions about the turnover agreement. And basically, initially we had discussions about us taking over the routes and yard shot for future maintenance. In essence, we would be turning back certain city streets within the city of Laredo in order for this to accomplish. But you're absolutely right. Once we get all this satisfied and we're moving forward with design and environmental, we can definitely set some time aside or start the talks on how we're going to turn this program over. At this point, the best option is to complete it, construct it, build it, and then we'll have those discussions.
Okay.
So just to get my bearings, if you don't mind, Mayor, has anybody in the county been approached with this, or am I just the only one lost on this particular item?
Mayor, can I add?
Yes, on this item, yes, go ahead, please.
Judge, I think what Mayor Sines was referring to was the city's portion. And so we were kind of just deliberating on the funding to pledge our portion, and then the turning over would happen at a later date once TxDOT takes that highway over. But I don't think this is a county related, because I think we were talking about the city's portion of the project. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I believe the 9 million was.
Yeah, no, it is, but I think, and I know I think it's important that we have this discussion now, especially since the judge is raising these questions. My understanding is for TxDOT to come over and actually take full control and make it a on-system project, as Chad Ruthinger, they're saying that's fine, but as part of the deal here, we do have some right-of-ways that TxDOT is currently owns and manages and maintains, and that's the San Bernardo and portions of Clark, I think closest to the Loop 20, and also the Jaime Zapata. And they're saying we're willing to trade that off for us to take, over this Chad Ruthinger. So, there's room for sharing and participating by both the city and the county. And this is something that loosely, I know David has mentioned it to me, and I think I've mentioned it to the judge, but it's been some time, Judge, some months, on and off. But now I think it's getting to the point that I think David is to have a serious discussion with you, and if there's any objections or whatever, let us know, and we can, try to work it out some other way. But we went in it with the county and the city on this, and it's a partnership, and maybe by doing this, the county takes some responsibility, additional responsibility, and the city would take additional responsibility as well. So whatever you all deem as being fair, that's fine with us.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Councilwoman Perez, for that. And if I may, Mayor, if I could just ask, does any of my county, whether it's engineering, or does anybody know about this?
As far as engineering, no, Judge, we weren't aware of Jaime Zapata or any other roadways as well.
All right, I'm just making sure. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, and like I say, it's still in the development planning stage as far as who takes responsibility for what. So,
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
May I be recognized quickly? So, thank you. So one of the things that I think we started as a partnership, the county and the city. Obviously, I wasn't here. You guys were here at that time, some of you, and so this project, since I arrived 2 years ago, seems to be a source of frustration because of delay and more delays and more delays. But I think we have a very good opportunity right now to stop those delays. I personally don't think that the city, or for the county, I won't speak for the county, but I don't think the county has really any business building highways. That's not what a city does. It's not what a county does. Right? That's what TxDOT does. And so if we have an opportunity to have TxDOT take over, make this road an on-system road, which is really going to be something that's advantageous for the city and the county, as well as for our whole region, I think that's a win for everybody. But Judge, I think one of the things that they're referencing is that there are certain sections of the city that currently we upkeep. And so what they're saying is, let's trade maintenance. And so the maintenance is mile for mile, Judge, or close to mile for mile. So for whatever they're taking, they're giving up, or close, it's somewhere near there. But it would make us not have to maintain that road anymore. we would take over the maintenance of local roads, such as Clark and San Bernardo. And I know that right now it seems like you guys had not been approached by this, but these conversations, just so you know, have been preliminary conversations that have happened in passing, and no formal negotiations have been made at all. But it is important to know that going forward, if we can expedite this project by allowing TxDOT to take over completely, it's going to help us on that Mines Road and development of that whole area, which I think is going to be great for us, for the city, for the county, and for regional prosperity. So I want to know, Mr. Salazar, you've had preliminary conversations with us. Were any of the county officials contacted ahead of time? Like you had kind of in passing talked to us about this?
Thank you, Marty. Before I answer your question, I want to retract and I want to go back a little bit. And Mr. Marty, you bring up a lot of good comments when it comes to this very vital roadway that we're in dire need of up in the Mines Road area. I do want to clarify myself. Earlier, I made the comment that we would build it first and then transfer it. That would be incorrect. You know, what we would like to do is once the environmental is cleared, we would like you to transfer the right-of-way over to us so we can begin the process. By doing this, Mayor, it would actually save the county and the city somewhere in the reference of maybe about $9 million that you would not have to pay if we take it over once the right-of-way is acquired. And Mr. Martinez, I believe, and I can't recall, there was conversations on this, and I can't recall if it was during a MPO meeting or not. That's a little bit far beyond my memory that I can recall. But certainly that was our plan. And if the judge, you have not missed anything. I myself have not approached you personally to start these conversations. We do want to, again, take over once the right-of-way is acquired to save the county and the city some money. And then once we'll go from there, we'll begin the construction process and design process once the right-of-way is transferred.
Yeah, and I think that's the key here is that ultimately, if TxDOT takes over, that money allocation that we've had goes back to us, the county and the city, and so they fund it, or it saves at least $9 million, right, sir?
That's correct.
So that's a win right now for all of us. Mayor, I'll yield with that.
Okay, that's fine.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, Commissioner Galo, yes, sir, please.
Mr. Salazar, yes, those comments you have made them before at TxDOT meetings, you know, basically a one-for-one exchange, you know, it's always been talked, you know, spoken about those type of things. My comments to the mayor would be, you know, jurisdiction, if you're asking the county to help on any type of maintenance, it's really about jurisdiction, because I mean, who's going to be in control of Clark Boulevard? That's going to be Mr. Orfila, you know, so it wouldn't be road and bridge. So those types of things I see as being very difficult. If it's within your scope, it's going to be within your scope. And if it's within the county scope, then it's going to be within the county scope. So,
Yeah, I think there would be a transfer of right-of-way. In other words, whatever comes to the city, we'll own it and we'll maintain it. And
correct.
And the county should elect to, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so if it's in the county and it's not annexed, we'll be maintaining if it's reversed. You know? So,
Right.
So I don't think that there's a matter of you know, electing to join. You know, if it's needed back or however the terminology is, I think we participate in whatever we're obligated to participate in as very, you know, as easily as you all would. So, and I think the doctor's comments are right on. This is a win-win, and we need to get this thing moving. I mean, and we have this excellent opportunity now. Everything is, you know, everything's starting to line up right. So, God willing, some pieces are going to be falling into place really quick. And I know 2024 seems like a long way.
No, you're absolutely correct, Commissioner Galo, yeah. Yeah, things are really moving.
September of 23, you know, so it's right around the corner.
Right. Yeah, so, Mr. Salazar, so I guess the next step is to thoroughly brief the county through the county judge and Mr. Salazar, if you don't mind, and then report back. Maybe we should put this again on the next month's agenda, so we can discuss it some more and see how the county feels on this. Okay, yeah, do we have a motion then? Well, yeah, there's no motion. Well, yeah, I just asked, do we need now this is not the ongoing item anyway, so yeah, we'll bring it up next time. So if you don't mind, Judge, if you need more time or once you visit with Mr. Salazar, just let us know what your position is on this. Okay, moving on then to item 5A, update by TxDOT on staff on 3 projects in the design stage currently out of public comment. Intersection improvements on FM 1472, an expansion project on US 59, and a signal project at Business 59 and San Francisco.
Good afternoon, Mayor. David, you want to handle it? You want to read the slides?
Okay. Mayor, basically, we've had a rough week this past week, so we want to come forward with this item and present 3 local projects that are on public comments right now or review. So Mr. Gonzalez is going to go through them briefly, quickly, which projects they are, when the comment period begins and ends. So Tito, Mr. Gonzalez, go ahead and begin your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. Yes, Mayor, as you mentioned, we have been, obviously, one of our key points and one of our requirements on all major mobility projects that we conduct is to have a public involvement aspect. That is a federal requirement that we have to obligated to perform. And even in a lot of these, we always try to go above just the minimum requirements to make sure that we're getting the city, the county, and all the stakeholders involved. So this project before you, here's the US 59 virtual public hearing that is currently ongoing. For those of you that have not had a chance to see it, up on the screen, you can go to the www.texas.gov website, and by searching North US 59 Loop, you will have access to all the material. It is a virtual public hearing room that has a 360 pan-around look, and you can access all the material that we would have otherwise had if we were allowed to have an in-person meeting. But again, due to COVID restrictions, the state is exercising precaution. So please feel free to visit that site. The virtual public hearing went live on April the 12th at 8 a.m. We did have an in-person option that was by appointment only. And we were able to see there were some people that requested appointments that showed up. We had that on April 12th from 12 all the way to 8 p.m. We were there for 8 hours in person. We socially distance and made sure that we abided by safety protocols that we have in place at TxDOT. The comment period for this virtual public hearing will end on April the 27th at 5 p.m. So there is still some time to comment. We ask that all the comments be provided via the options that are shown. As you visit our public hearing website, you will be shown the various options you have to submit comments, and we will be collecting all of those. And just so everyone knows, we do have to provide responses to every comment that we receive. So if you make a comment, you will be receiving a response. Mr. Snyderman, next slide. Similar to the US 59, we had a FM 1472 virtual public meeting. Now this is a virtual public meeting, and this is a meeting for the operational and traffic signal improvements on FM 1472 between I-69 and Pan America. This is a project that we've been discussing here for almost over a year at the MPO, at the City Council. We've talked about it in our planning meetings to make sure and get the city involved. It is currently, again, under virtual public meeting presentation. It can be found at www.texas.gov by searching FM 1472 Webb County. And that'll take you to our virtual meeting room where you will be able to see all the information. This virtual public meeting, we did not have an in-person element. That was only for the public hearing. So this public meeting did not have a virtual element. I'm sorry, an in-person element. The public meeting went live on April the 6th, 2021 at 11 a.m. And the comment period will end on April the 21st at 11:59 p.m. We also did have a public town hall meeting with Councilwoman Perez and her constituents on Friday, Mr. Salazar and myself, at 7 p.m. and took comments and answered questions that we will also be providing responses to once they are submitted via this public meeting protocol. Next slide. The last project that we wanted to just inform everybody on here was Business US 59 Safety Improvement Project. This project has a notice with opportunity to comment. So that's a little different than the public hearing and the public meetings that I just mentioned. This project only requires us to send out letters. So this project will, if you can see up on the screen, is going to construct a raised median on Business US 59 between San Dario to San Eduardo Avenue. It is going to put in a traffic signal at the West San Francisco Avenue. And then we're going to install some delineation at the intersection of East San Francisco and US 59. And as you'll see there at the last, on the easternmost portion, you'll still be able to access US 59 via Barcelona in that area. Letters will be sent out today, April 19, 2021, to property owners within the project limits, and comments should be received by May 7, 2021. Now, since we are not having a public meeting for this project, we do ask that anyone that has comments, they can please send them to the email on the screen to rafael.guzman@texta.gov. Mr. Guzman is our Director of Traffic Operations for the district, and he will be glad to receive any of those comments and provide responses to any of those questions that anyone may have. And with that said, I guess we'll open it up to the floor here if anyone has any questions on here.
Yes, any questions or comments? Yeah, but any comments made here that would still have to follow up formally through that process that you defined or explained, correct, Mr. Gonzalez, if I understand you correctly?
That is correct.
Okay,
That's correct, Mayor. For the public hearing and for the public meeting, correct, and then for this project, we ask that they be sent to Mr. Guzman via email. But if you would like to have a discussion, we can do that as well. But yes, please submit them formally.
Okay. Yes, any comments? I know people had asked that I place this or we place this on the agenda for further discussion. So, obviously some people do have concerns. Anyone here with any comments or thoughts?
Mayor, I'm curious. May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am, by all means.
I wanted to thank them for coming out, put together a town hall with some constituents. This is the changes on FM 1472 are the ones I'm specifically referring to, but it is going to affect some of the residential parts of District 7 of FM 1472. I'd like to, hear about anybody else's thoughts on the changes to the roadway, specifically the superhighway model, the super street model that they're implementing, where 18-wheelers are going to be basically just doing turnarounds. I've heard comments from constituents afterwards about how maybe some of the turnaround model won't really work so well for 18-wheelers, but I'd like to see if anybody else has thoughts on the changes to FM 1472.
My understanding is that once they exit, say you're going north, you meet 1472. So my understanding is that you may have to go a block and 2 blocks or so, whatever, to the next intersection and make a U-turn. So it's going to take some maneuvering, I guess, for any 18-wheelers to start going to the left to make that U-turn. Is that the way it's going to work at TxDOT or anyone?
Mayor, basically what we're trying to accomplish out there is the 2 traffic signals that they do have out there, especially the one at Killam, by letting traffic continuously flow, we're going to optimize the operation of that intersection 68%. We did reach out to the consultants with the comments that were provided from the town hall meeting, and they are going to get us a video of an actual location. And it's hard to picture what a U-turn is. But basically what it amounts to is we do have a section of roadway that is built out where they can accommodate this maneuver. And basically what we're trying to accomplish is continuous north and south movement. Mr. Gonzalez has been tasked of getting that video and an actual virtual of the project itself, so we can have a good understanding how everything's gonna flow out there. And we just don't have it at the time, but we will be getting that soon and coming forward with that.
Okay, thank you. When you say coming forward, yeah, I see the deadlines are, for this project was May 26th? No, May 21.
First.
Yeah, so we don't have, are we extending the comment period, subject to this virtual video, or how's that gonna work?
There is no plan to extend the comment period, Mayor. We will go forth with what we received from the constituents of Ms. Bettis' area. Mr. Gonzalez can probably speak more to when we will receive that virtual video, but we will be happy to share it with Ms. Bettis, whose constituents were concerned about that U-turn movement, and with anybody else who would like to share that video with us.
Okay, no, thank you for being clear about this.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get a comment from Mr. McGee on the changes? I don't know if he's had a chance to review them, but I'd like to hear what his opinion is.
Good afternoon, this is Danny McGee, City Traffic Director. Actually, I was trying to get my comments in. I applaud TechStop for going with a concept like this. However, it's going to be very critical, what you mentioned earlier, is the modeling. You can't take an off-the-shelf program and put trucks into it. It just doesn't work. So TechStop will have to, or the consultant they're using will have to make sure that what they're modeling is trucks. I mean, a truck takes a very, very long time from startup to get up to 5 miles an hour. Everyone knows that if you've been stuck behind one. So that's what I'll be concentrating on, is that the modeling actually reflects the queues and the startup times that we have out there. And to give further, I guess, a pat on the back to TechStop is I've been working with them to try and do something at carriers, and part of that was to get better modeling parameters for trucks traffic, especially as they climb up the road up to carriers. So they are going that extra step to make sure the modeling does reflect, because time after time I've seen modeling that just takes the parameters are given in the program and they don't reflect what is actually out there, and that's very, very important. I hope I'm explaining myself right, but it's very, very critical.
Okay, is that something, Mr. Salazar, that you'll be willing to accommodate?
Absolutely. Mr. McGee has been great to work with along with this project, and thank you for your support of this project, Danny. We really appreciate that. And certainly his comments carry a lot of weight, and we will be definitely looking at that. There is one caveat to this whole project, and it was brought up at this town hall meeting, and it makes perfectly good sense. Once that bridge into Mexico shuts down, there's really not much we can do on Mines Road. I mean, if it comes to a standstill, then we're stuck. But again, with these alternate routes that we're working on with our child, so they can have a destination to leave this area, is something that we're looking forward to. But again, yes, we are taking Mr. McGee's comments. It's been a pleasure working with him, and I thank him for his time and comments.
Mayor, can I add after?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
So with this, I'd like to ask that we look into these alternative roads for the residents. Some of the residents off of FM 1472, for whatever reason, the way that they were developed and designed, actually only have one way in and one way out. And so the residents will drive into their neighborhood, and if the FM 1472 is congested, then what you'll see is that the entrance to these neighborhoods is blocked off, and you have people sitting in traffic for a long period of time, not only to get home, but just to be able to get into their neighborhood. And so I'd like to see if we can have a plan for, like, maybe revisiting that River Road extension project, giving Wolf Creek an alternate way in and out. Those kinds of things I'd like to work on because I think it's important for emergency vehicles, and you don't want to have an ambulance or police vehicle stuck in traffic trying to get to an emergency, and that happens a lot. And so I think we need to put that into our model and our planning going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there may be an opportunity, Councilmember Pettis also with this. redirecting or this wall money. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but maybe if that's the case, we can call it a river road for Border Patrol to use as well, and kind of incorporate that as well. And maybe we can get some funding that way if it does come. Who knows? This thing is so much up in the air still. So anyway, just a thought. Yeah, anyone else?
This is Jason, also with the MPO. I just want to make comment on the FM 1472 design. I applaud TxDOT on taking that initiative and providing the capacity that's needed in the area. One of my concerns, or two of my concerns, is just incorporating the projects that are coming on board, like Vallecillo and HR, and how those relate to the design on TxDOT and their intersections. If you'd be coming down Vallecillo and going west and hit FM 1472, you'd have to go north 2 blocks and then come back south to go to the bridge. And having a truck, depending on what they're carrying, that weight, we've got to keep in mind with the industry. We just want to make sure that no tipping over or causing damages to the freight itself, because that would hold up the traffic even more. Those are just comments I had in regards to the design. Overall, great job though. Thank you.
Yeah, good thoughts. Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, this is Danny McGee again, if I can make another comment on a separate project though.
Absolutely, sir. Go ahead, please.
If we can bring up the drawing we were displayed of the one on 59 in San Francisco. And this is just a general comment, is I know we're showing a traffic signal there. This area goes back many, many years. So TxDOT's been very gracious about keeping us informed of what they're doing, and not to look a gift horse in the mouth. This is safety money, or I'm not sure if it's safety money, but they're the ones providing the funds for this. I'm still not convinced that a traffic signal is the best solution for that. So TxDOT is going that extra mile to get TTI and analyze this, because a traffic signal 2 blocks away from the traffic signals we have already at San Dario and Lafayette, it's going to be very, very hard to coordinate the progression there. So we're still looking at that. I just didn't want anybody to walk away from saying that the traffic signal's a done deal. We're still looking at this, at least from my point of view.
Okay, so you're saying that we need more progression, more space, more latitude.
This may be the best solution safety-wise, but I still got to maintain this signal once they turn it over to me. And depending on how we're going to run it, the phases, the times, it may be we cause more of a problem with backups than anything else. So we're still going to look at that. And like I said, TxDOT is involving TTI to look at that.
Okay. Yes, thank you for your comments. Anyone else on those 3 proposed projects that TxDOT?
Mayor, if I can, this is Tito from TxDOT, Tito Gonzalez from TxDOT. I just want to mention, I think a couple of people brought it up. The base model that was used for this design, Mr. McGee's correct, right? Correct in stating that to modify it to fit not only the turning radius of the tractor trailers, but also the startup speed, as he mentioned. So those all have been incorporated into the model. As Mr. Salazar mentioned, we will be getting a full simulation of what that Killam intersection will look like, and we'll be sharing that with the city, just so you guys can have more peace of mind and also see how that is fully going to function as well. But the main key point I think to take away right now is those intersections are operating under 4 phases, right? Means that you have to wait for 4 different sections to leave until you get your chance to go again, which is, I think, the easiest way to explain it. In the new scenario, there will only be 2 phases. So the wait time is going to be cut down by almost 60 to 70%. So you're going to see a lot smoother, steady flow of traffic on there. But again, we will present those videos to provide further clarification on how that would operate.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, let me make just one comment.
can I ask Mr. Gonzalez when those videos, when do you all anticipate? Is there any way we can get them before the deadline for comments so that we can incorporate that into our comments?
Unfortunately, I don't believe we will have this again. So we do have videos already up on the website which show a simulation of how each intersection is going to progress, as well as arrows. It's an automated video for those of you that haven't seen it. This is just a little more information that we're trying to provide, just I guess to justify the reasoning for the design.
Yes, I was going to just also add too, Zapata Highway, you all have done those, similar projects. I know they're different. Mines Road is very, very unique. And of course, Saunders also has some of that. So, for the people to visualize that, I know there was a lot of complaints and concerns by businesses and people, but then when it was actually installed, it improved safety. It improved safety a lot. So this is, I would just remind people too that I know it's hard to accept things, but once they're done, it appears that things, people get accustomed to it and then they develop their own habits. So anyway, thank you. Is there anything else? If not, I guess we move on to B, I believe. The update by NPO staff on the administrative modification of 2020. Yeah, have we covered that? No.
Not yet, sir.
No, not yet. Okay, so B, yes, the update by NPO staff on an administrative modification to fiscal year 2021-2024 Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, to accept the recently revised group project definitions and administrative modification to the 2020-2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan to include Appendix A, short-range projects identified in the MTP and listed in the TIP, in the TIP. Yes, Mr. Snideman, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Just for transparency and clarity, wanted to update you on an administrative modification we made to the MTP. We did not add or take anything away. We just rearranged it. And I can go into further detail if you need, but basically just rearranged some information into the format that the federal government wanted to see it in. So nothing changed. And they advised us that administrative modification was appropriate.
Okay, so nothing changed. It's a matter of just format, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So do you need, Mayor, does he need a motion to accept?
No, ma'am. It's just an update, just to let you know. We're in the presentation section where there's no action required.
Okay.
Okay, then. Moving on to D, I believe, status report by the RMA.
Yes, I believe Mr. Rodriguez is here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Policy Committee.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir, I'll be very brief. So the update is as follows. We have several items ongoing with the RMA. First item, of course, is the Hill Industrial Boulevard Turn Lanes project. If y'all recall, TxDOT led this project in November. The low bidder and the contractor awarded was Anderson Columbia. The last update we got from the state was construction will probably commence in the June-July timeframe. Basically, the signal poles for a lot of the work that is being done in the area have already been ordered. There's a bit of a lag for signal poles to arrive, and this is not a local issue. This is actually a statewide issue that it's kind of ongoing where you're seeing a significant amount of lag time for some of these kind of materials. So that is, from our perspective, understanding the main cause for the delay in start time for construction. Next item is Los Presidentes from Cuatro Vientos to Brownwood. So construction has commenced. Construction is ongoing. NTZ is the city awarded contractor. We've already been receiving requests for information from the contractor and promptly provided responses back to them. And work is now ongoing, which is great. We also had our groundbreaking very recently, around the last week of March. I believe many attended that groundbreaking, including Chairman Brown, of course, and City Manager Robert Eads, County Judge Pablo Tijerina, also among others. So I think we were all very happy that this groundbreaking went forward, and the project itself just definitely represents a success of the RMA working with their partners like the City of Laredo and the county to get this project moving forward. So we're all very happy about that. Also in conjunction with Los Presidentes is the acceleration and deceleration lane project on Cuatro Vientos, and I'll tie into Cuatro Vientos, into Los Presidentes. We're submitting 90% plans to TxDOT, Laredo District, next week. that project is scheduled for letting in October. So pretty much you'll probably see two different contractors later this year working in that same area as they complete the Los Presidentes extension project, as well as starting work on the acceleration, deceleration work on Cuatro Vientos. The last item is, of course, Vallecillo Road. Of course, this project is very important to the RMA. It's the first project that we took on, and it's still ongoing. Latest update that I have for you as we work with the state for additional funding to close the funding gap we have in the project. We've already received letters of support from State Representative Richard Raymond, State Representative Tracy King, our State Senator Judith Zaffarini, and of course also Congressman Cuellar. The Chairman Brown also had a follow-up meeting with the TxDOT Deputy Executive Director Mark Williams to further discuss the project. And at the conclusion of the meeting, Mr. Williams committed to Chairman Brown to try to schedule a one-on-one discussion with the Chairman of the Transportation Commission, Mr. Bruce Bug. Those have been the main highlights we've been doing with Vallecillo Road. And we're also working with, we're also working as best we can to explore other paths for funding for the project. Any questions?
I do.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to get an update on how much money we're missing and where we could possibly get the money from for that, so we can get that going.
Yes, ma'am. So currently the funding gap is $17.5 million. And there are several avenues that we're exploring. Well, one item is there's a possible earmark application that Congressman Cuellar has reached out to his constituents requesting input on that we could, he requested we provide an application for that item, and we put that together and we have submitted that. There's also a very recent notice of funding opportunity that was released last week by the Federal Highway Administration. If many of y'all have heard of the Tiger grant application and was recently renamed the Bill grant application, well, now it's been called the RAISE grant application, RAISE. This is another possible avenue for this project, and we can discuss whether our project would meet that criteria as well. So there's several other avenues we've been exploring.
Yeah, I was going to comment along those lines too. I know, there's a good chance that Congressman Henry Cuellar may pull it off. Of course, that's uncertain until he's makes that decision. But I'm thinking too, depending on the amounts that he can actually tap into, and apparently it's kind of open-ended. My conversations have said that it could be in the 20 million, a little over, a little less, somewhere in there. But if there's an opportunity, and I know the city committed 5 million to it, which we are committed, but in the event that he can cover the 17.5 plus the 5 million, that could release those 5 million, and we can apply it to some other projects, especially the South. I know we've been talking. The South needs a lot of work, so there's opportunities there for so we can spread and leverage our monies throughout. To some other projects. But if he can't, and if it's the 17.5 is, and I'm not saying that it'll reach or get there, but if it does, and he's able to cover the 5 million the city has committed to, we could apply it to some other project that also needs it. But anyway, just a thought on my end, and I really hadn't said much about it to anyone except here since it came to mind.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay? I mean, where can we have a meeting maybe where we can discuss just specifically funding for this one and maybe the top three, that we had from our survey? Would that be the next MPO meeting, or maybe we can invite him to talk about?
This is a body for it. If you want, we can, put an agenda item next time and consider funding or whatever TxDOT and Mr. Steinman, what it would be appropriate for y'all's planning. Obviously money is always a question.
Yeah, if there's funding sources and we need to give input, or we need to make an application, or we need to, maybe we could, if you could give us direction, on where we specifically we need a comment, and to who, or if Mr. Cuellar can come on to one of our meetings and talk about funding, that would be great too. But I think we need to have a serious talk about, you know, what we need to do to get the funding. So that would be my suggestion for the next meeting or the following one after that.
Okay, I know we do have those visits, and I don't know if it's, and I'll leave it up to Mr. Salazar and Mr. Steidman. You know, at the earliest possibility, Mr. Steidman, could you bring that up and see, because we also, matter of fact, we've been having these, you know, we have these unfunded projects, you know, that list that Mr. Steidman presented to us. But the question is, you know, how do we fund them? And the majority of the monies have been committed already, as you know, so it's very tight. So anyway, it's still worth discussing to see if, yeah, I would focus, you know, at this point maybe on there's a good chance for that earmark. So maybe have a chance, visit with Congressman Boyd and see what his thoughts are on these projects. Because that would be the most likely, and of course these discretionary funds from TxDOT, you know, the relationship that the Killiams have with some of the people in Austin, you know, can certainly help a lot, and I know it will. So those are the two immediate potentials that I see personally. Anyway, okay. Do we have anything else? Oh yeah, your report, Mr. Stein.
Yes, just a couple things. Well, we did already discuss item 4C, and 4D, but just a couple comments wanted to make. We use the city council's, we use the city hall, the city council meeting room for our meetings. And although the city council has permitted committees and boards to meet, the public has not yet been invited in. And so not all of our committees and boards have a public component like this board, like this committee does, or like some of the other ones that we do in the planning department, that we manage in the planning department. So that makes it kind of difficult to do both because of the staff required to both run a virtual meeting and an in-person meeting. We don't have as much staff as the staff that's there for a city council meeting or a county commission meeting. And so tonight we're going to hear the city council is going to make some additional decisions about whether or not we open up into stage 4 and invite the public back to the public meetings. I'll keep you all updated, and I'll work with the chairman, the mayor, on how we schedule our meetings. I'm hoping it's soon we can go back to full public meetings, but I would ask that we wait, as staff, I would ask that we wait to hold meetings in person until we can do them completely in person with the public invited in, because otherwise the strain on staff it's very difficult. We'd have to get many more people involved who aren't in this department and are busy doing other things, especially preparing for the council meeting, which is later that day. So hopefully we'll be able to meet fully soon. And like I said, I'll work with the mayor in terms of when we schedule it, and we'll give you all plenty of notice in advance so that you know and can prepare for that as well.
Yeah, from my end, the sooner the better. but I understand your concerns.
And to that comment, I'll just say that the way that we've set up the meeting, we very much worked with the federal government who oversees the MPO, and while some boards and commissions have taken a different approach, it's very important for us that we have a standard approach in terms of participation with this. So I know there were a few hiccups along the way, but we did it so that we're not giving any preferential treatment to anybody that's not, that's public and not part of the meeting typically. So we've tried to stick to that. And I think we've done a good job overall. It's worked pretty well. And it's going to require a little effort to go back to meeting in public, but there's also a bigger payoff. I think there's a lot more energy and a lot more good discussion that happens when we can all be in the same room and see each other, don't have problems hearing or any other communication problems. So we'll keep you updated on that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Anything else from anyone?
No, sir. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business? And if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved. And is there a second?
Second.
Seconded discussion? None heard, those in favor say aye. Any opposed, same sign. None seen, none heard, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.